A goal without a plan is just a wish. Good afternoon to each and everyone, especially to our dear Professor Dr. Gertrudes Apas. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Noraima B. Pacaso, and I will be your first reporter for this afternoon session. As you can see on our screen, our topic for this afternoon is all about the scope and concept of educational planning. And these are the following subtopics that we are going to discuss this afternoon together with my partner, Ms. Junrose Salgado.
Nature and scope of planning. Fundamental concepts of educational planning. Characteristics of educational planning. Approaches to educational planning. Last but not the least, types of educational plans and their functions.
Before we start with the presentation, I'd like to share with you a short video about the Japanese way in order for them to be relieved or to relieve from stress and to cope up with stress. In that way, they can be able to plan things ahead of time.
A Japanese method to relax in 5 minutes. Every day you are stressed about too many things: work, relationship, family, bills, other people's opinions. A certain amount of stress is normal and even necessary, but excessive stress can take a toll on your life and health. You're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you next. You can get rid of stress in no time at all. All you need to cope with anxiety and headache is just one method, a unique ancient Japanese technique. It takes less than 5 minutes and can be done about anywhere. To practice the technique, you should first understand that each finger of your hand represents a different feeling or attitude. Let's see exactly what. Here's your hand: thumb, index, middle, ring, and pinky. The thumb helps combat emotions like anxiety and worry. The index can help you combat fear. The middle finger helps you control anger and resentment. The ring finger can help you fight depression and sadness. Also, it's responsible for making you more decisive. And the pinky helps to calm anxiety and increases optimism and confidence. This finger represents self-esteem. Let's repeat it again. Thumb, anxiety. Index, fear. Middle, anger. Ring, sadness. Pinky, self-esteem. Keep repeating it till you remember it. Now, let's see how this unusual method works. To harmonize the life energy in the body, grasp the finger with the opposite hand, wrapping all the fingers and thumb around it. Now hold each finger for 1 to 2 minutes. You will know it's working when you feel a pulsating sensation. If you want to calm your mind, slightly press in the center of the palm with the thumb of the opposite hand and hold it for at least 1 minute. It will help you relieve stress, get rid of negative thoughts, and get peace of mind in the middle of the hustle and bustle. Practice this technique every day to stay calm and reestablish the balance within yourself. Remember that there are many other ways to cope with stress: exercise, yoga, massage, meeting friends, good music, and others. However, this Japanese technique is one of the best methods to revive yourself quickly. This method absolutely works wonders for everyone, regardless of age and gender. Have you already tried it? How did it work for you?
Okay, so I hope and pray that you have been able to understood or you have been able to learn something from that short video that I've shared for all of you. So before we formally start with the lesson proper this afternoon, which is all about the educational planning, let's first unlock the word planning. So who among you knows what is planning? Exactly! Planning is a very important aspect in our life. We witness planning in various ways, such as public administration, business administration, army administration, and even in educational administration. Planning is a foremost important function in administration and management. Remember, without planning, or systematic and careful planning, there would be no educational institutions, nations, or any other kind of society that will be able to survive in this rapidly changing world. Now let's move on to educational planning and its definition. Remember that planning has been defined by thinkers in different and various ways.
In 1990, Allen said that planning is a trap laid down to capture the future. In the words of Harold Kuntz of 2000, he said that planning is deciding in advance what it is to be done in the future. R.L. Akuf of 1970 said that planning is anticipatory decision making, whereas Dior 1967 described planning as a process of preparing a set of decisions for action in the future directed at achieving goals by optimal means. While defining planning, Eulju of 1990 said that to plan means to project, forecast, design, or make or chart our course. On the other hand, Adesanya of 1990 emphasizes that planning is a way of projecting out intentions, that is a method of deciding what we want to do in order for us to accomplish.
So it is well clear that the definition of planning from the authors or thinkers that we have mentioned earlier, that planning and objectives should come together as one. Because planning has something to do with what, how, when, why, where, and who will take over in respect to the path of actions.
Educational planning, its meaning and definition. Educational planning is a well-defined and elaborated process through which educational administration reaches its identified set of objectives in stipulated time period while maximizing the usage of available human, physical, and financial resources, and of course avoiding their possible wastages. So in other words, systematically forecast the whole process involves resources and benefits as well as possible losses, challenges, and dangers ahead. So if you are going to look at in educational organizations, planning is a task of the administrator and pervades all the functions of management.
Just remember that planning is not just about quantitative and qualitative development, but it provides us an surety that it has something to do with ethos and culture for the educational organizations to be successful.
The importance of educational planning.
So in other words, you can say that planning has something to do with futuristic manner. So it simply means that it is not stagnant. It has something to do with what will happen in the future. It doesn't have to think like we are just concerned with today as the present, but we have to look into the future when we plan. It has something to do with the positive and of course negative sides of everything. So as what I have said earlier, educational planning is in futuristic manner. So that means it has something to do with the preparation of the future. So it enables us as an educationist, as a teachers, the decision makers, the policy makers, the educational stakeholders to excel in order for them to have a benchmark in the field of education.
With the help of educational planning, various educational problems, their causes, solutions can be sought out. Educational planning is a continuous process which works in continuum. So it deals with pre-plan phase as well as the necessary feedback and essential modification in the plan, and of course in remediation of sustaining problems in education.
Okay, so we can say that educational planning is actually the process of deciding the objectives in advance. So maybe it includes on how we are going to determine the policies, the procedures, the standards when it comes to the field of education. Now, let's discuss about the characteristics of educational planning. Actually, there are more than 9 characteristics of educational planning, but this time around, we will just focus on the 9 most important characteristics of educational planning. The first one is goal-oriented.
All types of plans are goal-oriented. Goals and objectives provide for basic direction and planning. So through planning, goals are tried to be achieved. Plans are considered to be successful or failure depending on the success rate of achieving the set of objectives. So in the situation of failure, of course, plan needs reforming process.
Now, the second one is futuristic.
So plan means to see forward and prepare for the future. So in other words, planning is to speculate about future scenario, to analyze the future problems, and of course to prepare to face them. For future progress of educational organizations, present activities are planned sincerely, carefully, and rigorously looking into past trends, and of course with a future vision.
Next is pervasive.
Planning is all pervasive. It is involved in all managerial functions such as organization, direction, coordination, control, communication, and even reporting. So educational planning invades various levels just like pre-primary, elementary, secondary, university. We also have technical education and last but not the least, the professional education.
Now, the fourth one is remedial.
So, as we have stated that educational planning is a progressive process, it incorporates modifications or new plans wherever necessary to remediate arising problems.
Fifth is mental exercise.
Now, planning is a mental exercise which includes imagination, foresightedness, decision making, logical thinking, creative thinking, and etc. So basically, it is based on careful study of various internal and external factors in environment.
Sixth is logical.
So we can say that educational planning is a logical process because it works on research findings and concrete data in the field.
Seventh is progressive.
So it is a progressive process which always progresses in direction of preset objectives of the organization with defined resources, stipulated time limit, and of course focused energy.
Eighth is flexible.
Planning is the prediction of future activities and events. As future is always uncertain, flexibility is needed in planning. If our planning is flexible enough, we can have essential modifications or even adjustments in different steps of plan implementation. So in other words, rigidity is prohibited in planning and over-flexibility in planning also should be avoided. Planning should always be balanced.
Last but not least is continuous process.
Planning is a continuous process. It never ends. Once the plan is formulated, it is implemented. And after the completion of a plan in a specific period, the results and feedbacks are drawn by the policymakers and planners. On the basis of these outcomes, new plans are formulated. So in this way, planning is a continuous process which works according to the recent trends and changes in societal needs and expectations. So we always need upgraded plans in accordance with the changing societal demands of the nation. Collectively, on the basis of the characteristics of educational planning that I have mentioned, it can be summarized in the words of Chuvek that he told that planning is a set of formal and rational activities that seeks to anticipate conditions, directions, and challenges at some future points in time for the purpose of enhancing the readiness of the personnel and organization to perform more effectively and, of course, to attain relevant objectives by optimal means.
To formally conclude this report, I'd like to share with you another video of a person or a girl named Malia.
Malia has dreams, big dreams. To achieve them, she must have access to a quality education. This is her fundamental right. Beyond this classroom, a whole system unfolds from pre-primary to adult learning. Its goal? To help Malia and her peers build a bright future. An education system includes everything from the human resources to the policies and financing that supports it. But this system doesn't just appear like magic. Without planning, the whole education system is threatened, along with Malia's dreams. So what is educational planning? It starts with all of the relevant actors coming together to create a vision for education. They anticipate the future with the resources of today. Different tools are used throughout the planning process to highlight any problem areas and help with financing and resource allocation. At the end, the stakeholders have turned the vision into a plan of action for Malia and her peers. But let's start now, because Malia can't wait. The government and education officials must lead the way and believe in the plan. It must also stay responsive to the local context, such as the geography or demography of the local population. And what if a natural disaster hits or a conflict erupts? Planning for resilience allows the system to stay afloat. When an education system is carefully planned, the fate of millions of children is protected, and Malia can build the life of her dreams.
So in the video, it clearly explains why educational planning is the backbone of a stronger, more resilient, quality-focused educational system. So at the end of the day, we will be able to appreciate the educational system will be the key in order for us to understand life and in order for us to reach our goals and aspirations in life. So that will be all for this afternoon session regarding my report. I hope and pray that you have been able to learn something from the report that I have been able to tell you. And daghang salamat sa pagpaminaw sa akin.